Well. What do we have here? This is the Monday morning installment of the Week 9 in the NFL, and we have some amazing storylines. Oh my God. The NFL is awesome this year. It is amazingly interesting this year. Um, Whew, wow. Where do I begin? I mean, so we had this draft a couple of years ago, and I apologize, but it looks like Lamar is the only guy working out. Um, yeah. So if you remember, draft before that, we had the Chicago Bears moving up to get Trubisky. They didn't want Mahomes. They didn't want Deshaun Watson. They moved all the way up to go get Mitchell Trubisky. Yeah. I think we can officially call Mitchell Trubisky Ryan Leaf status bust. He is horrible, makes really bad decisions, really bad at reading defenses. The trick is up, the gig is up, buddy. Nagy did the best he could. You've shown obvious regression. The people are calling Nagy this awesome coach. I think he's one of the worst play callers. I actually think that Trubisky could be functional. Yeah, functional. Um, with better play calling and a more attention to the run game early on this season. They'd have got Montgomery going a lot early in the year instead of trying to run all this trickery stuff with Tariq Coleman, and you drafted this stud as high as you did, and you're not even using him to the full of his, to the fullest of his potential. Yesterday, he only had 14 carries. Come on, man. Come on, man. Like, this guy's a stud. Ride him, man. Protect your quarterback, man. Protect your reputation as a coach. Um, but moving on from Chicago, I want to really get right into it, man. You know, Baker Mayfield was the number one overall draft pick by the Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, by the Cleveland Browns, excuse me. Um, and I honestly think that he and Mitchell Trubisky are the same. He's a bust. I don't think that he's more than anything than a potential backup quarterback in the NFL. And he's not one of the better backups in the NFL. I know this may sound critical and harsh, and you can make all these excuses that you want about Freddie Kitchens being a horrible coach, and I would completely agree with you. He is way out of his depth. He does not know what the hell he's doing back there. He is way too much for him. I was listening to an interview with Tony Dungy the other day, and he was talking about how he was being prepared for 4 years to be a head coach. He was identified by his head coach as a potential great head coach. He loved his leadership ability, and his ability to lead men and have them respond, um, manage personalities, and he groomed them for 4 years. And then when he got into Tampa Bay, he was like, man, I was it was still overwhelming for me. There's a guy that went from a positional coach to an offensive coordinator, had some degree of success, I guess you could call it, against some really bad teams at the end of his season, and they're primed to be in that same position. The only thing is, you got one more week of some really ugly football, and it's just going to confirm everything, man. That all these teams that you might beat on the back door going out, it really means nothing. Nothing. Baker Mayfield is incompetent. He's horrible. He makes the worst decisions in football. He is the absolute worst decision maker in the NFL. And I mean that. He is horrible. And he had the audacity in preseason to criticize Daniel Jones, who has shown more competence over his short tenure than Baker has showed all of his. Um, he is exactly what Rex Ryan said he was. He is a one read quarterback. Um, he's not very good at dissecting defenses. You show him one thing, give him something else, you pretty much going to have him flustered. He's going to leave a clean pocket, roll out, and try to do something stupid that he thinks is really, really smart. And it's getting him, it's just exposing him for what he is. On the other hand, you have this you have this transcendent quarterback in Lamar Jackson. Oh my God, is this guy not freaking amazing? He is awesome. He is what I would like to call um, uh, um, one of these rare players that comes along. Because every now and again in the NFL, there comes along these players that, in spite of all opinion of them, in spite of everything, all the challenges that face them, people telling them all the things that they can't do, and the reason why they can't be successful, and the reason why they are this and that. And I remember, Colin Cowherd pretty much called him and Josh Allen a projects, and Lamar Jackson is the best player that came out in that draft, right? I mean, right? It has to be, right? I mean, outside of Deshaun Watson and Patty Mahomes, can you name two other players that are even on his level? And think about this. The Baltimore Ravens was in a position with this Super Bowl winning quarterback who was a statue, and they have this offensive line that is predicated upon the run and not real good in pass defense. And Joe Flacco wanted got the they're paying him all this money. They need him to throw the ball, and the offense became stale and predictable and boring and inefficient. And so, credit to the new general manager, Ozzie Newsome, Hall of Fame, legendary GM. They lose him, and this new guy steps in and has the balls to get with Harbaugh and say, "Man, we need to change. Let me shake this thing up, man." And if we do that, then we got to be committing to this style of football, to this brand of football, and we got to go all in. And so they told Harbaugh, we're going to be part of that going all in is I'm gonna need you to relinquish some of your coaching experience. I'm gonna need for you to be more statistically inclined. Um, and I'm gonna need for you to take a breath. And in these critical situations, I no longer want you to go with your gut. I don't want you to go on situation and what your experience has taught you. We're going to give you some stats to go by. And if the stats say that if we do this, then our and convert, our opportunity to win is exponentially higher than if we didn't. And we want you to do that. We want you to make that decision. And Harbaugh embraced that. This is a Super Bowl winning coach, and two-time Super Bowl winning coach. Um, and you're telling him how to coach, and for him to have the self-awareness to say, "Man, I can grow." And if you look at what he's done, especially on these fourth down situations, he has stuck to script. These third down conversions, he has stuck to script. He goes by the stats. What did the numbers tell me? And he goes by the numbers. And that is awesome. Not only that, but they bring in an OC. They fire the previous OC, bring in this new OC, um, bring in these quarterback coaches that specialize in creating offensive schemes that enhance this particular style of quarterback's ability to be successful. And if he grows at an average rate, we're going to be extremely successful because we can include a better passing plays and make the offense more dynamic. Lamar Jackson has grown at an exponentially exceptional rate. His ability to pass the ball and identify defenses and read coverages and create plays and his completion percentage on the run. Do you know that his QBR is 94.1% outside the pocket as well as 94.1% inside the pocket? He's just as efficient outside the pocket on the move as he is inside the pocket standing still. What? Check it out. He is awesome. Nothing short of transcendent. I'm not calling him the greatest of all time, but I think he definitely has the ability to be. If this young man goes on to win some Super Bowls, and 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 I mean it's gonna take minimum the six, but he's probably gonna need the seven because Tom Brady has set the standard. It took him winning five, and then he was still questioned with Joe Montana. But now at six, it's unquestionable who the king of the GOAT is. And that is the man that we watch on Sundays, even to this day. We're fortunate to have the pleasure of that experience in Tom Brady. But this young man, and this coaching staff, and this organization has went all in on him. And Cleveland Browns did the same thing with Baker Mayfield. And this is why I say that Baker Mayfield is a bust and he's liable for his coaching deficiencies. Is because he wanted Freddie Kitchens. He went to John Dorsey and said, "This is my guy. This is my guy. If we're going to make a coaching change, give it to Freddie." Freddie, you had a competent coach back there. You just didn't like him telling you that you weren't quite ready. He was forced to draft you. He didn't even want you. You knew it. He knew it. The whole room knew it. And he was an arrogant prick, but he was competent and he was enough to identify you. But you weren't trying to hear that you was a failure. You weren't trying to hear that you weren't ready because you wanted to drink the fucking juice. You wanted to believe that you were this really awesome guy, this great new quarterback that was going to change the NFL and shake up the world. You're a winner. You wanted to believe that about yourself, and you were unwilling to accept what your deficiencies were. And in the NFL, you will be exposed. This is a league for men, a league for great players. And if you're not great, trust me, we will find out really, really fast. And we have found out really, really fast about Baker Mayfield. We also have found out that John Dorsey did not fix the dysfunction, but he is also a part of the dysfunction. And that franchise will completely be utterly and regrettably dysfunctional. Another team we can add to that is Sam Darnold, who is supposed to be the darling. And I'm not doubting Sam Darnold's competence or ability to play quarterback. I actually think he is a true victim of his coaching staff, but I think he's also been exposed. He is not what we thought he would be. I was a Darnold fan from his freshman year on. Hell, I would like him in high school. He was an amazing quarterback. I was a big Lamar Jackson fan. I was a big preponderant of him coming out. I thought the man, did exceptionally well in college. He threw for over 3,000 yards. He ran for over 1,500. The kid, his athletic ability was amazing. I respected his stance and saying, "I'm not going to be anything but a quarterback, and I can do it. I can do it. It's just going to take one of you guys believing in me, and then I'm going to prove you right. Not only am I going to prove to you that I can do it, but I'm going to exceed expectations. And the concepts that they are adding to him every single week, they are expanding this freaking playbook for him, is beyond. Like, did you see what he just did to the New England Patriots defense? Oh my God, he made them look childish. He made them look childish. It didn't even look like they could compete. They didn't belong on the same field as Baltimore. I mean, okay, do this, I just do that. Throw that, man. Blitz me. I'll pick it up. Boop. Drop it. Pick it up. I'm out. Like, what? This didn't expose the New England Patriots defense. Their defense is freaking awesome. But it's predicated upon defending the pass because he built this defense to go up against the Deshaun Watsons and the Patrick Mahomes of the world. He did not build it to run up against some bullies on the block that came out of nowhere that hit them dead in the face. And everybody's saying, well, now Belichick got a playbook on him. He threw everything at him. And, yeah. And you know what it said? We threw everything at him and we still couldn't do nothing with him. He dogged me. Everything I tried to show him, it was he destroyed it. And the slight unsuccessful drives that he had, the few of them, it came. I mean, there were mistakes. He made mistakes. He's still growing. That sidearm pass when he hit the daggone O lineman in the head, that was a dumbass decision. That's one of the stupidest things I think he does sometimes is he got this little weird sidearm thing. But get that quirk out of him, man. And I'm telling you, man, he is the fastest player on the field against any team that he plays against. Because he's not on the field with Tyreek Hill. So, and I think that might be an interesting race. Honestly, this kid is a freaking monster. He is better than Mike Vick. And Mike Vick is a Hall of Fame quarterback. And he is better. He's better. Much better in his second year than Mike Vick was with Philadelphia. He looks like Mike Vick at Philadelphia that first year. The wheels fell off in the second year. But he's better than Mike Vick was later in his career. Already in his second year. He's only going to continue to grow. This guy's going to take over the league. I think that Patty Mahomes tends to hold the ball a little bit too much. And because he doesn't have this particular type of running style, he takes a lot of unnecessary hits. And I actually think that these injuries are just going to be the very beginning. Deshaun Watson is an Iron Man, but at some point the injuries are going to mount. He takes entirely too many hits. Entirely too many. The Houston refuses to build that offensive line. And even though it's better, it is still bad. It's not very good. They do not give him a lot of protection. And a lot of times he's facing 3 and 4 man fronts. People scared to blitz him. So I just think that it's going to mount. It's going to mount. Baltimore has built an offensive line, has built an entire scheme, has reshaped the branding of their organization based upon this guy, and he has the full support of his entire organization and city. All his players buy into him. He has great leadership ability. Last week when he wanted to go forward on that 4th and 2 and wound up scoring a touchdown himself, what did he do before he went out there? Coach said, yeah, you want to go for it? He said, hell yeah. But what did he do? He didn't just take the field and say, come on, guys. Nah, he tapped Yonder. Marshall Yonder. Called him the OG of the line. Tapped him and said, yo, you want to go for it? Yonder said, hell yeah. He said, let's go. Let's go. Let's go get this shit. We got it. He leads, man. He's a humble leader, man. He is a humble leader, and he's humbly confident. I'm just here to tell you, man. I think another big help to them came last night. Jimmy Smith got healthy. I've been preaching this. I said, man, when after they got Peters, Marcus Peters from the Rams. I didn't think they needed to go after Jalen Ramsey. If they would have got a Jalen Ramsey, bro, it would have been unfair. I didn't think they needed to go after Jalen Ramsey because I still think they need some help and they need some draft picks and they need to, continue to build this young dynamic team. Um, I thought they should have made a really, really hard push at Jamal Adams or a safety to go along Earl Thomas. Um, and I was also thinking that if they did land Jalen Ramsey, by putting Jalen Ramsey and Jimmy Smith or Marlon Humphrey, they could rotate those guys to the safety position. I would probably go more like Marlon Humphrey because he's better, tackler in the run game. Although Jimmy would be awesome back there, maybe moving, um, keeping Earl at the single high, bringing one of the safeties down, into the boxes because pretty much Tony Jefferson pretty much played like a linebacker corner, and I think Marlon Humphrey could do the same. Um, but it went the way it did. Now I think that they can match up in their receiving cores with just about anybody. Marcus Peters is horrible in man coverage. He's not very good in man. He's a good physical receiver. He's super fast. I If he plays man, he needs to be on somebody that he can dominate physically at the line of scrimmage. Because Julian Edelman is probably runs like Marcus Peters, obviously a way more dynamic athlete, and really, really fast. So far more faster than Julian Edelman. And Edelman, could pretty much kind of have his way with him last night every time they were matched up. Um, Edelman burnt Humphrey a couple times too. Jimmy had a really, really good game, and then the linebacker Pat Anuwosar was came back last night, and I also, he's the man when it comes to covering those, underneath crossing routes. He's an extremely good blitzer. I think he got home last night against Brady. I think put a lot of pressure on him, and he is also really, really good against the run. He is, I think, the cog to Baltimore's run defense at middle linebacker. He is, the Baltimore's Luke Kuechly. He's not on that level of Luke Kuechly, but he is a dynamic linebacker, and their linebacker core really was suffering with when he wasn't there. So anyway, I think that Baltimore is the team to beat in the NFL. I think that when you look at the landscape, I mean, who's the scariest team in the NFC right now? Um, I would say you might have to put Dallas up there, but they're definitely not by far number one. But I mean, San Francisco, New Orleans, I think Green Bay was kind of exposed a little yesterday. Their linebackers are not really good. They just wasn't. Every time San Diego needed a third down, man, I mean, Hunter Henry was just killing them. Gordon kind of had his way with him a little bit, and Mike Williams, they were he was just catching balls like big chunk yardage balls. He was virtually unstoppable against them. And so I think that Green Bay's offense and defense kind of had a coming down to earth moment. It had some success and it looks really good, and I still think they're a really, really good team. They definitely should win the NFC North. I think that poor play calling once again reared its ugly head in Minnesota and cost them a game that was pivotal. Pivotal. It could have gave them the inside track and a lead for the NFC North with a matchup coming up against Green Bay again soon. in a head-to-head that could have really been a defining factor. Once again, Minnesota had an opportunity to rise to the level of their expectation that had falsely built in the confidence of people in the public and their fans. Um, and they dropped the ball again. They failed to rise to the level of standard in which they set themselves. The public holds you to a standard in which you set yourselves. Yes, they expect greatness from teams when um, they have these super high payrolls and you bring in all these big names and you got these offenses and you got these players that are doing these dynamic things and you're underperforming. Like yesterday, Cook, man, they didn't get that man involved until like the second half of the game. It wasn't even a factor. Like he wasn't even a factor in the game to the second half. And that I don't know. It's deficiency. Uh, just deficiency. So I think we learned a lot in the NFL this week. I think we're going to learn a lot about Dallas tonight and Monday night showdown with the New York Giants. Um, I was really looking forward to this matchup because Sterling Shepard was going to be back, and the offensive line was going to be healthy for the Giants, and they would have a full complement of weapons. Their defense, I'm really curious to see how Leonard Williams is incorporated. I think he's going to be starting tonight, um, and I really think that we have a really good opportunity to see what the Giants could be kind of looking like going forward. Um, and it was going to be interesting. Daniel Jones has showed some competency and looks good. He also shows what a rookie quarterback thrown in the fire or a really bad team looks like too. I think we can learn a lot about Dallas tonight. I think we can learn a lot about the Giants, and I think it'll be more. We'll learn more about the how this game ends up determines who we learn more about, right? Because if Dallas wins this game as expected, they should win this game tonight. They should be able to beat the Giants. Um, if Dallas wins this game tonight, but it's a shootout, and the Giants' offense looks really good, right? Giants' offense looks great, and then we learn, a lot about where the Dallas Cowboys are at, really, truly, defensively. If Daniel Jones can do to them what Sam Darnold did to them, or better, because it's Saquon Barkley back there, and a better offensive line, and a few more skilled position players that are, I think, a lot better. I think even the backup receiving corps is a pretty lot better than what they have up there outside of Roby and Jameson Crowder, and I think the tight end is 10 times better than anything they got in the Jets too. So Evan Ingram, I think the Giants have better offensive weapons than the Jets have. So I think that if if Leonard Williams can really make an impact on their defensive line, I would like to see how they play. I mean, could you think about goal line packages, jumbo packages, defenses with him and Tomlinson and the other guy, like they got some pretty young studs at DT. Like close compact sets is going to be really hard. Like and it would be interesting to see if they allow Leonard Williams to play some defensive end. Um, he looks like he's lost a lot of weight compared to where he was at in college, and so I think that it'll be interesting. It'll be really 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 interesting. Um, I'm curious to find out his impact because if Dallas does what um, they're expected to do is just pretty much handedly beat the Giants, then we just know that Dallas played, looked good against another, subpar team in the NFL. It doesn't really, we don't really learn much about the Giants. Daniel Jones goes out here and looks completely incompetent, considering, what Sam Darnold did to them. Then we learn a lot about Daniel Jones and where the New York Giants might be thinking they need to go with this year's draft. Hibbert looks really, really good. He just does. Teddy Bridgewater looks like a really, really good cheap option. You have to put some money in the quarterback, but hey, that first round draft pick could go to a Chase Young. We need a strong. Chase Young could be pivotal to our defense. Maybe a couple of good free agent signings in the secondary. Um, so there are some options for the Giants. We could learn a lot about David Jones tonight, right? We learn a lot. No matter how this go, we're going to learn a lot about David Jones and whether or not we should be believing in David Jones or not. Because no matter what he showed us, let's think about this in terms of the NFC performance, like actual performance on the field, and who he truly is, and not for who he appears to be. You get me? Um, and without no excuses. Um, I think that the Arizona San Francisco game, we did not really we didn't learn a lot about San Francisco other than Emmanuel Sanders is really going to make that offense really dynamic. But I think we did learn a lot about Arizona. Kyler Murray, he's an off-schedule quarterback, similar in regard to my buddy Opal Lamar Jackson. Not in the same league, me personally, completely different levels. I mean, Kyler Murray does some really good things, but I think Lamar Jackson is a class above. Um, just me personally. That's just me. That's just me talking. But I think that Kyler Murray has showed that his ability to operate on an elite level. I think he displayed that. A very, very good quarterback. Um, but when it's all said and done, I think his height is really going to hurt him. I mean, he just can't see those lanes, and people are going to push that pocket inside and have those guys waiting outside for you all the time. People once they're getting tape on you, they understanding what they're going to do to you, how to defend you. So it's going to be more difficult for him than say a Lamar Jackson, because the reality is, yeah, Kyler Murray can get down, but what about that time he don't see that guy coming? A free blitzer just coming off the edge and just smacking. He ain't built for that. I'm telling you, he's going down, and he's gonna be down for weeks. He can't handle. Say they play, uh, hypothetically speaking. So they're in the NFC West. Okay, Aaron Donald breaks free. Mean swim move coming off the line. We've seen him do it 100,000 times. Splits two defenders. Boom, comes back there and mollywops him. It's over with. Kyler Murray's done. He's done. He's gonna get hurt. They're probably gonna find Aaron Donald and flag him unnecessarily just because he's 4 times the size of Kyler Murray, making full contact with him. But Kyler Murray's playing the quarterback position. I'm gonna be allowed to make full contact with him as long as I'm not trying to lay on top of him and put my whole body weight on top of him. But if I come back there and just rock his and knock him back 5 yards because I hit him so hard, hey man, it is what it is. It was a sack, you know. So um, that's why I say Lamar Jackson is in a different class. Um, but I think that Arizona is going to be really good. They're going to have to protect the hell out of him, and he's going to have to play with his head on a swivel every single second of every single football game. If not, he's going to wind up getting hurt, and it's going to become repetitive. I've seen it before. Um, Kansas City game. Andy Reid, ooh, showing you Big Red know how to coach too. Don't forget about me out here. I'm pretty good at this coaching thing. Um, but I also believe that there was some incompetence on his opponent's side of the football. Um, I don't think that the opposition played um, exceptionally well. I think they made some bad decisions. But I think the story of the day is Andy Reid. Matt Moore came off a high school coaching job and took that, you know, started quarterback position, well, backup quarterback position, and then was able to fill in and just step right in seamlessly. And they don't do a lot of the off script stuff that Patty did. You know, he doesn't make all those plays when the play breaks down, but he makes great decisions. He he puts the ball in his playmaker's hands and allowed him to be storyline. You know what I mean? Like he's just really really smart. Andy Reid did a hell of a job. That touchdown run that Damian Williams did was, I mean, it was just so clean. He ran that ball in a passing situation and scored a touchdown. Uh, Big credit to Damian Williams. About time he had one of those games. He has looked like trash uh, in fantasy, honestly. And I think all of those running back by committee situations, I think all they do is just one or the other is going to look bad on every single week. Um, you look at the teams that have a really strong run game. Baltimore really doesn't do a running back by committee. What does Gus Edwards get 10, 12 plays a game out of maybe 65? Um, the bulk of the work goes to Mark Ingram. He's that bell cow. If you look at New Orleans, this really high success run that they've had, they really leaned on one running back, Latavius Murray, to carry them. Um, Raiders, one running back. Minnesota, basically one runner. They went to that committee stuff yesterday and they were all over the map. That play calling was horrible. Cook barely had any touches. I mean, I think running back is a rhythm thing. Guys got to get into a rhythm. Got to see how defenders are responding. And if I set them up this way, okay, next time I'm gonna set them up like I'm gonna do that, then I'm gonna cut back here. You know what I mean? When they trying to cut these lanes off, I'm seeing how the defense responded to these lanes, and I'm going to make my adjustments as the game go on. I remember Brandon Jacobs for the Giants. They would run Brandon Jacobs. He would have 17, 18, 20 carries in the first half, and he only got 2 yards here, 3 or 4 yards there, 1 yard there, stopped behind the line here, met at the line of scrimmage there. He going to halftime, man. He have like 17, 18 carries for like 47 yards, 20 carries for like 46 yards, 51 yards. And then they come out in the third quarter and them 1 and 2 and 3 yard runs turn into 12, 15 yard guts. He might have 12 carries in the second half for 115 yards and 2 tubs. You know what I mean? Like, so I just look at the teams that run with a consistent running back. Houston runs Carlos Hyde heavily. Their offense is just expanded so much that even Duke Johnson can get in there and get him some numbers. But you see that the bulk of the carries, the bulk of the workload goes to Carlos Hyde. Um, you just look around the NFL, Dallas. Zeke going to get that rock. But I think that the running back position in NFL, they're trying to evolve it. I don't see it as something that needs evolvement. It just is what it is. You got to get you a bell cow and a good backup, and all that trickeration and stuff that started with um, Reggie Bush and Sean Payton down in New Orleans. Forget all that. You know what I mean? Like, forget all that. Everybody trying to find the next Marshall Falk. Just get you a guy that can do it and get the job done and stick with him. Stick with him. And you're going to find some success because he's not going to pop everyone. He might have 14 carries for 26 yards and then boom, he pops one. Goes 76 yards in a tub. Or he pops a 30 yarder, 17 yarder. You know, I think that, the old school philosophy still stands that in order to win in the NFL, you have to be able to run the ball and stop the run. Um, Now that philosophy is transcended from, you know, being able to stop the run with your front seven. You have to be able to incorporate your back four, your safeties, your corners. These guys have to be able to step up and stop the run. And that's what I really like about Baltimore's defense, again, with acquisition of Peters. Jimmy Smith, Earl Thomas, Marlon Humphrey, exceptional quarterbacks against the run, super physical guys. Um, and the Rams defense, their secondary is going to be really, really awesome now with Jalen Ramsey back there. That defense is going to be crazy. Um, you give pretty much you're going to be giving Aaron Donald a whole nother second to get to your quarterback. He should be causing some problems. That D line should be causing some problems because he's going to get doubles and triples, and somebody needs to be able to beat a one-on-one. If you can get the rest of those guys, the other three guys on that D line to beat beat one-on-ones, um, the Rams defense is going to be incredible for the second half of the year, I think. Um, what else? Oh, um, so my take on Week 9 in NFL. I think that the Jets need to reboot. Um, Allow the GM to bring in, his coach, draft his quarterback, trade away Le'Veon Bell if he wants to, trade away Jamal Adams if he wants to, bring in resources and assets that he thinks is, part of his plan for what he wants to do moving forward. Um, it's not about feelings; it's just being accepting reality. I think his draft was made for him, and Le'Veon Bell was signed, and he didn't want none of that shit. He didn't want nothing to do with none of that shit. So I think really, I'm not saying that Sam Darnold is a lost cause. What I am saying is that I think you should be drafting another quarterback in the NFL this year. I mean, in the NFL draft this year. I think you guys should be going, heavy offensive line. Um, I think that you need to fire your coach. I think you need to just reboot everything, reboot it all, because I don't think Sam Darnold will recover from this year. I don't. I don't think that. Um, I think he needs maybe a year off, and I'm probably wrong about that. Sam Darnold's, I've been riding him since high school, but sometimes you just got to accept the reality that there were plays to be made, and he just wasn't making them. It's just that simple. There were plays that he left on the field. There were throws that he just either made really bad choices or held the ball too long, second guessed it. I just move on. Clean slated. You got a new GM. Let that GM bring in everything on his so that you can make an honest evaluation of who he is as an executive. Um, don't hog tie him to decisions that he didn't make. I don't think that that would be fair to that general manager. I think that the organization would be doing a disservice to themselves, uh, their franchise, and their fans, as well as that general manager, if they didn't allow him to just clean house. Um, and I think Jamal Adams is a stud, but I think that he's such an emotional, kind of chick like attitude type guy to him, really arrogant, egotistical. I think he feels a false sense of greatness. Yeah, saying that he views himself on the same level as Aaron Donald and Tom Brady, and thinking that people wouldn't feel phone calls. Man, the people would feel a phone call about anybody in the NFL. Anybody. The price is right. You can be had. It's just that simple. People don't like to accept that. When you in the NFL, all players are commodities. They're exchangeable commodities. They're assets that are moved around. It just is what it is. Um, when I determine your value is less than what uh, the, the, what they are offering, then I'm gonna take the greater value. Anybody would do it. It's just business. But yeah, I would move off Jamal Adams. I would try to get a good haul for him in this year's draft. Miami is being really smart. I think Miami is going to get some really awesome players out of this draft, and they have a chance to restart their franchise. Um, but again, if I was the Jets, I'd move off everybody, get as much as I could for Le'Veon Bell, Jamal Adams. Shit, I would probably even send Sam Darnold out of there. But um, I would definitely be drafting a quarterback, or I would be going after Teddy Bridgewater. I really think that Teddy is a really, really good option. I will bring in a coaching staff that would support Teddy. Somebody maybe of that Sean Payton tree, maybe even look into New Orleans office and somebody on the offensive side of the ball that work with him. They can bring in some intelligence. Um, uh, Maybe even go after one of these college guys and elevate them. Um, you know, Former college coach, Ohio State's old coach, Urban Meyer. I would be really trying to allow, if I was the GM, I would be following that Baltimore model. Maybe not that particular type of quarterback, but you know what I mean. Like I would be looking to, you know, build my secondary. Um, and Jamal Adams, he doesn't have to be traded immediately. You could build your team, and then there's a safety come out that you really like. If there's an opportunity to sign a new safety that you really like, and maybe you make that change. But until that time, I think he's under contract for a whole another year, 2 years, year or two, something like that. So he's good, and somebody might swing at defenses for him next year. But by all means, I wouldn't make him my cornerstone. But I would definitely follow that Baltimore model in allowing the GM to just come in and go all in on the concept that he believes in, that he can make the franchise successful, pretty much in a nutshell. Um, Philly, we're learning a lot about Philly. Really well organization. I believe in Doug Peterson. I think he's a great coach. They have responded. They have really responded really well. Um, I respect it. I think that um, they the next Philly and Dallas matchup, I think, is going to really determine the NFC. Um, Dallas has a couple of bumps and bruises coming up on the schedule. It gets really difficult um, for them, and the Giants game tonight is the first of the second rotation of their NFC division games. So I think they're going to be really challenged, and they're going to take some bumps and bruises. And I think Philly has done a real good job of showing you that we can respond. We're going to get healthy. We're going to respond. I really think that it's going to come back to haunt them that they didn't make a move for that Jalen Ramsey. Um, I think that he was really, really important, and he would have did something special for that defense. But they just want to stick with what they got. They believe in what they got, and they want to roll with it, and just try to add to it in the offseason So be it. Let's understand that they're going to be in the same market for DBs that their division rival, the Giants, are in the same market for. And Giants are going to be able to offer a lot more money because they're not paying the quarterback, they're not paying the running back, they're not really paying too many people on that damn team, um, and they're also going to be in the market for one or two of your free agent offensive linemen that are coming out coming up for free agency. So Philly's going to have a lot of money to spend. I mean, they're going to have to spend a lot of money in the offseason. They're going to have to upgrade that wide receiving core. They know that. They're going to try to do that in the draft. I'm assuming some pretty decent receivers coming out in the draft. Um, they're really going to have to upgrade their secondary and their linebackers. And I just think that they're going to be in the same market for the same type of players that the Giants are going to be in the market for in free agency. Same caliber, same skill set players, same players that need to be able to do the same thing in a very, very similar defensive concepts. So it's going to be an interesting offseason in the NFC East. Um, I think that New York is probably going to be a better market. And depending on how well the Giants end their season, but maybe they have a great showing tonight on Monday Night Football against Dallas. Is going to really determine where players really want to play at because the the Eagles won a Super Bowl, but they don't have a winning franchise history, not in postseason. The Giants are four-time Super Bowl champions. They have a winning franchise history. The history of that franchise is winners. They have, a tremendous amount of division titles and you know NFC championships. Like they are a foundation franchise. They're more historic. They have a lot more standing, and playing in the New York market is far more lucrative than playing in the Philadelphia market for an NFL player. There's more opportunity to gain money and sponsorships. Um, One last thing is about that subject is that I think my playoff predictions at this point, um, I'm not going to rank. I'm not going to do my top 10 rankings as of yet. I want to wait to see New Orleans again this week. I want to see the Rams again this week. They both have some um, interesting teams that they play. Rams are much more stiffer test to me than New Orleans, but New Orleans and Atlanta games can be interesting. Sometimes the unexpected happens in division games. So I want to see a couple of these teams play. They had a bye week this week, and I also want to see how some teams respond this week before I make that call. Um, but as of right now, I think that if I was to go playoffs in the NFC, I'm going, and this is in, well, I might as well rank them. So NFC, let's go NFC North. Um, I think San Francisco is going to win the division. Um, and I also have the Rams and Seattle as the wild cards out the NFC. So I'll go ahead and get that out the way. Um, in the NFC West. So I want to go opposite NFC East. I think Philly is going to represent the NFC East. I think that Green Bay will inevitably represent the NFC North. Um, and I think that New Orleans will represent the NFC South. I think that Carolina and Dallas will both miss the playoffs. Um, because I just think that That's going to drop the ball. I just think they will. I think that Dallas is a coach away from really being dynamic, but I also believe that Dak is not going to be worth the money. The blueprint is out. Shut down Zeke, make Dak beat you. He's not going to beat you if your defense plays competent and gives him pressure. If you give him pressure looks all night long, if you show him one thing and bring him something else, don't give him time to just sit back there and make a decision. He's not a runner. It has to be there. It doesn't come instinctually. He's going to keep looking down the field. And if you can get there and put that pressure on him and get him on the ground, it's 9 times out of 10 he's going to start throwing some picks. He's a multiple pick guy. If he throws one, he's going to keep throwing them. And stat line may not reflect it, but he's going to be on the DB or linebacker, somebody dropping it. But he's going to give the defense multiple opportunities to intercept him. I don't think Dak is is a win me a game type quarterback. He just hasn't done it yet in my estimation that I can remember. Um, you know, People shut down Zeke. That's a hard task to do, but if you can get him down, if you can keep Zeke under control, and not just keep Zeke under control, because if the game is tight, they're gonna keep running him. He's gonna start getting loose. He's gonna bust your defense down. Eventually, he's a hell of a running back. But you're gonna have to stop Zeke, and then you gotta score. You gotta go score on their defense. They are really suspect to the run to me. I think you can run at them really, really aggressively, and I think that you can beat them over the top. Um, Leighton Vander Esch is out tonight. Sean Lee will be in. We're gonna see how that works. Um, Linebacker core drops a notch, not a lot, but it definitely drops a notch in athleticism and speed. Um, when Sean Lee is in there, they gain some in intelligence and experience. And he has a really good ability against the run. Um, but I think that when it all comes down to it, I just think that they have a couple of things that I believe are necessary in order to be successful in the NFL, and that is win me a game quarterback. When everything is breaking down, like you looked at San Francisco, Arizona shut that run down. I mean, Breida got loose a couple of times, but more or less, Arizona did a hell of a job against the run. And so they told Jimmy, man, win us a game. I need you to win me a game. Go win me a game. I just need to get us through this one. And he did it. He did it against Washington as well. When they won a game. You need that. Dak can't do that. I haven't seen him do it consistently against, in tough spots. So, and, Jason Garrett, I don't believe in him as a coach. I don't really believe there would be a really good market for Jason Garrett. He probably have to go to college to coach again as a head coach, maybe a coordinator somewhere. Doubtfully that. Not a really good play caller in my estimation. And that offense, coordinator you got, I forgot his name. He used to be a pretty good quarterback at Boise State, I believe. But the gig is up on him too. Um, yeah, I just don't got him making. And Carolina, I just think they're just. I don't think they're going to be able to edge out Seattle. Um, I think they got at least 2 more losses on their schedule, and it's going to be hard to overcome that. I don't think Seattle might lose one more, maybe lose one more, I think both of their next two division games against San Francisco, I think all the rest of their division games are at home. I think. I got them, definitely knocking off Arizona. Um, and I think that they could probably upset San Francisco. That might be San Francisco first loss, maybe. Um, so don't know. We'll find out about them. Uh, but that's my playoff picture so far for Week 9 as of now. Of course, subject to change. Guys, be great. It's been wonderful. Maybe tomorrow we get into some NBA.